Hello and welcome to another TRT Q&A with me, Paolo Broccardo. And in today's Q&A, we're going to do a couple of questions. Most of these come from my Facebook page for the TRT Hub, which is being shut down. So I wanted to get the last of the questions out of the way so that everyone's attended to. So most of these are from Facebook, with one coming from my website. Now, just for those of you wondering why I'm shutting down the Facebook page, well, simple. Facebook is shit, number one, but mainly because there's major privacy issues with Facebook. Also, Facebook is pay to play, which means not everyone sees your posts, and that is not very productive. So in future, as it was in the past, all questions can still be submitted via my website, which is trthub.com, or as most of you do, via YouTube, which is where you are now. So moving on, we've got 4 or 5 questions here today that we're going to get through. Like I said, most from Facebook. The reason also I'm doing all of these questions in one Q&A kind of together is because they're kind of related in a way, right? They're all along the lines of getting TRT, troubles getting TRT in the UK, and just general questions regarding that. So I thought that it would make sense to do them all together. So let's get stuck right in. Right. Question number one comes from James, and he says, "Hi Paolo, recently I took a testosterone test due to feeling low on energy and starting to store fat on my gut and chest. The results came back as average 375. I did some research on this number and it appears to be the average for someone that is between 70 to 80 years old. I'm 28-year-old male that trains well, eats great, and doesn't drink. How should I approach the NHS about this? Apparently, they only prescribe treatment if you're under 270. Great channel, keep up the good work, and I hope to hear from you soon, James." Okay, so James, the results that you got that came back are in the fairly low range. 375 is kind of towards the upper end of the low range, but it is close to where I was when I started TRT, and you certainly may experience symptoms of low testosterone at that range. So right, you do sound like you have a valid case, considering that you lead a healthy lifestyle and everything else seems to be in check. So I see no reason sort of not to suspect this, and given the blood test result of 375, it's most likely that you do have low testosterone, and that's contributing towards your symptoms. So now you have this epic problem that we've all gone through with the NHS, where they've got such a low range that you need to be in to qualify for TRT, that it's most likely that you're not going to get a prescription. So how should you approach them? Well, really, unfortunately, it's just hit and miss, right? So you really have to hope that you find a doctor that's either sort of experienced with low testosterone and that is open to the idea of treating you, even though you're above the NHS's lowest end of the range. You need to find someone who's experienced with TRT that can sort of diagnose based on your symptoms. He can see the low blood, the testosterone result that you have in your blood work, and is willing to give you treatment. Now, that's a rare thing, but if you find someone with experience, you may be lucky. Or you may just find someone that is clueless, and you may be able to slide it past him and suggest TRT, and maybe he just goes ahead and does it. But most likely with the case with all these NHS doctors is they've got a prescribed sort of regiment that they have to stick to according to the book, according to the numbers, and they don't deviate from that, which means you may not have much luck. So my suggestion is, on my website, trthub.com, and I'll leave a link for a description in the, I'll leave a link for this article in the description of this video. I've got an article called the UK Guidelines for Treatment of Low Testosterone. What I suggest you do is get a copy of those and then take them and try a couple of GPs or doctors in your area and talk to them about your situation, and just, say to them, I understand that normally the range is this, but you should also be prescribing on symptoms and not just the reading, or just the ranges that the NHS prescribes, and see if you have any luck. I would try 3 or 4 doctors if that's practical and possible, and take these guidelines with you and try to use them to back up your case, right? Now, it's easy for me to say this. Didn't work for me though, and it hasn't worked for other people, but for some people it has. They're the minority though. Try it though, see if you have any luck, and if you do, fantastic. But if not, you may have to consider going private. I know, unfortunately, it's just what you have to do in the UK with the way things are currently. I had to do it too, so that's my advice, James. All right, moving on to question number 2. And these are getting kind of longer, so I may sort of just add my 2 cents as we work our way through the question. So he says, this is Dave. Hi, I'm looking for advice on how to find an NHS doctor who would be prepared to look at my case for TRT. I've suffered with the symptoms for many years, I'm sorry to hear that, but thought it was depression for which I'm on medication. Right, first of all, if you're on medication for depression and it's not helping your depression, and maybe you discover that it's something else that's causing the depression, like maybe like low testosterone, consider chatting to your doctor about getting off those meds as soon as possible, right? And again, I'm not a doctor, that's why I'm saying chat to your doctor, but you don't want to be on medication, especially sort of happy pills or antidepressants that mess with your biochemistry and your body unnecessarily. I've recently had a blood test and my total testosterone was 13.2 and my free was 0.157. Okay, these readings are a slightly different unit, but they are low no matter what unit you measure in. I believe TRT is worth trying as antidepressants are not working, which I already commented on. My doctor has had advice from an endocrinologist who says my total is within normal levels, so no treatment. And again, it's right near the end, the top end of the low treatment. Like let's say the range is from 7 to 12 that they'll prescribe. Your level of 13.2 is just above that, so they're being ridiculous not to consider your case. But that's how they are, unfortunately, as we heard with the previous guy. So he says no treatment. My free testosterone is well below the norm, but he's not interested. And that should be a red flag. That should be a sign that you should go see someone else, because he's ignoring, he's looking at one reading and ignoring the other. And free testosterone is probably even a better indicator of what could be contributing to your symptoms of low testosterone. If your free testosterone is low, that's a red flag, right? That you should be doing something to correct that. I'm going to go private, but the cost is an issue. I know some people have found NHS doctors willing to try them on TRT and see if it helps. I've tried looking for an NHS doctor, but with no luck. Can you help, please? Yeah. Same as the guy before, same as my scenario. If you've tried a couple of doctors, try a couple first, right? As many as you can find in your area that are willing to listen and see if you have any luck. And if you don't, then you're going to have to go private. Now, is it worth the cost? Well, put a price on a better quality of life, right? And then you make the decision, right? Do you want to potentially have a better sense of well-being, increased confidence, increased energy, more motivation, maybe a higher sexual libido and all those types of good things? Well, then maybe it's worth the cost, and then you should go private if you can't get it on the NHS. But if you sort of weigh the pros and cons and it's not that worth you, not that valuable to you, and you're happy with the way you feel and it's just not worth spending the extra 50, 60, 70 quid a month or whatever it might cost, then maybe you don't want to go ahead and do it. Ultimately, that's your decision. I think for most of us out there, it's a no-brainer, but I'm not going to put words in your mouth. I'm not going to make the decision for you. But, either way, it's going to be a challenge. Good luck, and let us know how it goes. Okay, next one is from, this question actually came through on my website from Paul Bush. He says, hi Paolo, I love all your YouTube vids. I'm getting close to seeing my endo on NHS. Question though, do you know whether they use any other kind of testosterone jabs apart from libido, as I've heard it can take a year to work? Well, first of all, libido should not take a year to work, right? Generally, it takes on average about 2 weeks to take effect, right? Now, what happens is some people will have to have, when they start libido, they might have to have a loading phase, which means you'll go for your first injection, then 6 weeks later, you'll have a follow-up injection, maybe because when you started, your levels were really low, and so the first injection sort of gets you up, and then the second one, from that point on, sort of tries to maintain it from there. It's not what really happens, but that's the protocol they follow. Now, at the most, let's say that there is a 2-week period, right? In the first 6 weeks, you don't feel anything. After the second shot, right, which will be at 6 weeks, you should then feel something off at least at the most up to 2 weeks after that. So let's say by week 8. Waiting for a year, then there must be something else wrong, but libido should work by then. For me, it was pretty instant. It worked within 2 to 3 weeks, if I remember correctly. So that doesn't sound right. So I don't know where you heard that or if you've experienced it personally, but that's not normal. Now you said, I've been speaking with your mate, Mike Kosis, who is from Balance My Hormones. For those of you who don't know, that's who I'm with also for my testosterone replacement therapy. He says, I'm half tempted to just go with him. What do you think? Hope you're well. I would go with libido first. I'd give it a shot, especially if you're going to get it for free on the NHS. You got nothing to lose. You got everything to gain. Libido worked well enough for me for many years, right? So I would give that a shot first and see if it does anything for you, if it works, and maybe you have luck. You don't have to spend any money. You get on NHS and your low testosterone is resolved. But if not, if you don't have any luck with that, if you have hassles with libido, then you may have to either ask your GP to put you on a different testosterone. I think they may also do Testosterone, and see if you have any luck with that. But you know, if you find your protocol is not working out, or you're struggling to get TRT from your GP, then you may have to go private with Mike from Balance My Hormones or another service, right? So that's that one. Good luck. Let us know how it goes. And finally, and this one is the longest one of the lot, so we will go through this piece by piece. As you can see, I'll put it up on screen. You'll see it's quite a long message. So let's get to it. This is from Splash Johnson, who some of you might remember from a previous video. But here I am, Splash. I said I'd get back to your video despite our checkered past. So let's get right to it. First of all, this is Splash. First of all, I like your YouTube page and I think it's very informative. Thank you. I'm 30 years old and I took a blood test 2 weeks ago and my total testosterone was at 530. The reason for me taking this blood test is because I was suffering from major symptoms of low T and I didn't know what to do. So let's just address that first part, right? 530, that is not generally considered low. That is considered very much normal. In fact, with today's ranges of testosterone, that's actually not a bad testosterone level to be at. You usually wouldn't experience symptoms at that level, right? The highest I've sort of found in my experience, and this is just anecdotal, is that people generally tend to have the symptoms of low testosterone at about 400 or below, right? You don't normally see it higher than that. And 530, that's quite high. Even when I had low testosterone and I got my shots of testosterone back in the day, my levels on TRT were round about where yours are now. So this, you know, there may be something else going on here that's causing you to experience this. This is highly unusual. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's very unusual to be experiencing symptoms of low testosterone at that range. It does seem fairly normal. And I don't think anyone is going to prescribe at that level, even the private guys, but I could be wrong. So let's move forward. And also, you didn't say what your symptoms were. You just said, I'm experiencing symptoms of low testosterone, but you don't say what. Maybe they're caused by something else. Maybe it's not testosterone. Maybe the symptoms are some other condition. Got to take that into consideration too. Right. For a year prior, I ate mostly testosterone boosting foods and I was hitting the gym hard. Well, that's good. Keep your lifestyle habits good. Eat healthy. Testosterone boosting foods aren't going to make any significant difference to your testosterone. You know, they might make sort of fractions or a few percent difference, but for most people, it's not going to be anything noticeable, especially if you have low testosterone, right? Testosterone boosting foods, if you have low testosterone, are likely not going to get you into the normal range. The amount that they help is fractional, if anything. I was shocked to see that my testosterone levels were only at 530. You say only like it's bad. Again, that's not a bad level to be at. So, you know, if they were sub 400, below 400, that might be a warning flag. You know, even below 300, that's more realistic. But at 530, again, I'm not sure how you've come to this impression that that's bad, because it's really not. I mean, it's not at the high end of the range, but it's not at the low end of the range. It's pretty average stock standard. I spoke to and I still felt like garbage. I spoke to 2 doctors, one of them being my dad, and they told me at my age and how I'm eating and how active I am that my levels should be higher than that. You know, it's different. And, you know, there's so many things that can play into a person's hormones, right? You know, genetically and naturally, some people have higher levels and some people have lower levels, right? That's why some people grow bigger and stronger than others over the course of their childhood and their life, and others don't, you know. But maybe at 30, maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. I know it's hard to say, but you know, you're still in the normal range, right? You shouldn't be experiencing symptoms like this. So it is kind of peculiar. He continues, even though I am considered to be in the average range, the whole thing that led me up to the point of me checking my blood work was because my anxiety kicked back in last year and I did not know why. Okay, now we get to a real symptom here, anxiety. Okay, yes, low testosterone can cause anxiety. That is one of the symptoms, but it's not the only thing that causes anxiety, right? Anxiety is also a mental state or mental condition that can be affected by a number of things, not just testosterone, right? There are other hormones and chemicals and substances in your body that can affect things that may cause you to be anxious. It might purely just be a mental thing, right? Where, I don't know, there's some trauma or something that's causing you to feel this way. You can't pinpoint anxiety to low testosterone. There's not sort of a direct causal effect like that. It may contribute. In some cases, it may not in others. So you just got to be aware of that. Even though it's embarrassing to say, I've never really had morning wood like that throughout my 20s. Okay, so that's a good symptom. That's, usually a warning sign of low testosterone when your libido seems to be less or non-existent. Relationships in the past failed because I only wanted sex maybe one every 2 or 3 weeks, and this was when I was in my early 20s. Are you sure you weren't dating maybe a bit of an ugly chick? I'm just kidding. Okay, again, this might be a warning sign, especially in your 20s. Everyone's different when it comes to libido. I've had no problems with my libido, even when I had low testosterone. Libido was never an issue for me. It was more sort of mood related and energy related things, but everyone's different. So this may be a warning sign for you to take into consideration. My doctor is suggesting that I do get on TRT at a small dose to raise my levels a bit higher so that I do feel better. I'm just kind of nervous about the whole idea of it. I'm contacting you because I want to get your opinion. What I would say is, because you've only got one blood test result here, which is your total testosterone, I'd say go have a bit more of an extensive blood panel done. Do your total, your free testosterone, look at other things like estradiol and sex hormone binding globulin, or SHBG. And see if there aren't any other red flags there, right? There maybe your free testosterone is low, and that's what's causing the symptoms that you're experiencing, right? So go have the blood work done and see what comes from that. If you've been offered TRT by a doctor, and they also admit or believe that these symptoms may be related to low testosterone, and you maybe see something in the blood work that indicates that, then I don't see anything wrong with giving it a shot. Just put some thought into it. It may come with a few consequences. If you start TRT, maybe you'll have to be on it for life. Maybe you won't. Again, it varies from person to person. But if it looks like that you do have low testosterone and the symptoms are indicating that, give it a shot and see what happens. Now, you do say that I would like to be in between the range of 800 to 1,000 nanograms per deciliter. Right, having a specific number in mind is not helpful, right? It's irrelevant. Having symptoms alleviated when you have low testosterone and getting into the normal range isn't based on a number, right? Your symptoms could disappear at 600, they could disappear at 700, they could disappear at 800, 900, 1,000. Usually, it's going to be within the normal range, around about 600. In fact, even where you are now at 530, you shouldn't be getting symptoms. That's why it's peculiar. But again, there may be other factors like free testosterone at play here. But saying I want to be between 800 to 1,000 is kind of pointless. What you really want to do is have a good free testosterone range, a balanced estradiol levels. And then the total is not too important, but obviously it's nice to have that, but it's not the end of the world, and you got to go based on symptoms rather than a specific reading or unit or number that you're trying to achieve. And that's really it. So I hope you found that helpful, Splash Johnson, and I hope the rest of you found this helpful. If you do have questions for me, again, like I said in the beginning, just go to the TRT Hub or trthub.com, submit a question there, or submit a question on this YouTube channel, anywhere, in the comments of this video or anywhere else, and I'll get to them at some point. YouTube does collate them all in a list for me, which takes me forever to get through, but I will get to them at some point. And if it's a good question, especially if I haven't answered it before, then I will answer it in another TRT Q&A. So thanks for watching. Click like if this helped you in any way, and I'll see you in the next video.